protected by the red, the black, and the green at the crossroad with the key. I was a soft kid. I was sensitive, I cry easy, and be scared to fist fight. My mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. I talk this shit like a lion. Very much. We got a lot to talk about. Now I gotta tell you how this show came to be. You guys know I live in Ohio. In January, when this nigga Trump and Elon made the Doge thing and cut all those government jobs, the housing market in my hometown plunged 20% in the first quarter. And I don't mean to talk like a white. Boy, they did that, didn't they? And then when this nigga deployed the National Guard, my hometown took the police department from the mayor. Oh, DC niggas, we don't like that. But then my governor in Ohio signed National Guard to police my hometown. And I called niggas and said, I'm pulling up. Niggas is trying to take the chocolate out of Chocolate City. I said, I gotta go home while it's still a city I remember. And then I went on Instagram and saw all the protests in DC. And there was a bunch of white people like, not on our streets. I said, oh no, it's too late. These whites are entrenched. Not on our goddamn streets, you don't. This nigga Trump was talking like he goes out to dinner. It's not like that. Yep. And I gotta tell you the truth. This is not the only city this is happening in. It's happening in California, it's happening in Oregon, it's happening in Illinois, and it's happening in Memphis. And niggas in Memphis, they might, you gotta be reasonable. I don't know if you've been in Memphis recently, but them niggas already stole 2 tanks from the National Guard, so you already know. And I came here mad, ready to fight, but when I drove through the city, it looked clean. I gotta tell you, it looked clean. Better than the last time I was here. Today I only saw one guy taking shit on the street. But you know what? He had a bag. I was waiting for somebody to do something about the homeless. You know what's fucked up about DC? We're the nation's capital, and nobody even gives a fuck about the homeless. Let me tell you the truth. I feel like I'm the only one that does. Now, y'all don't know this, but quietly for the last 2 years, I have been secretly working with Washington's homeless, and I have spent $2 million already on my homeless project. I didn't give them food or anything like that. I just taught these niggas to thrill a dance. You got a big treat coming up on Halloween, you'll see. And I'm sorry I didn't come home sooner, but I've been very busy in Ohio, and a lot of people say, what are you doing out there? And I don't know if you know this, but this is true. I'll tell you what I've been doing. The town that I've been living in for the last 25 years, I bought most of it. Ohio loves, this town I live in is like a little itty-bitty Bernie Sanders Island in the Trump Sea. All the whites are poor out there, but these are like the dirty hippie whites, and I like them. And they like me too. But you know what I learned about liberal white people? Liberal white people let black people do whatever the fuck they want until you boast to their town. Oh, they frowned on that. And whites got real suspicious. But you know what? Because look, if I was white and the people in this town were black, you know what they'd say? They would say I was gentrifying the town. But there's no word for what I'm doing to these people. I own everything, nigga, everything. I used to be mad at white when I was young because I thought they were unfair. I have all this property, I understand them. It's fun. It feels good to walk up to white people like, are you supposed to be here calling the police? Fun. So much property in this town, and it's true. These white people think I'm responsible for their well-being. That's ridiculous, nigga. I'm not no public servant. I'm a capitalist. I be walking down the street minding my own business, and they come up to me with their concerns. Dang. Congratulations, I'm buying the whole goddamn town. But you need to start thinking about some affordable housing around here. And I'll be like, well, actually, champ, I can afford my house. That sounds like some shit you need to worry about. Because if I think about it, I can afford your house too. So if you want to sell, come holler at your boy. I'm collecting the whole town. I'm collecting the whole goddamn town. You know, I don't know where these poor whites got the money. But not long ago, these motherfuckers built a brand new fire station out of the blue. Where the fuck they get this money from? I was like, what the fuck is this? And then, you know, this is some real racist shit. They tried to sell old fire station at an auction. And they knew I was going to be out of town. But it's far too late for that. I got that whole town rigged with snitches. Them niggas couldn't wait to tell me this. My lord, I have news, my lord. I was like, what's going on? This you say is a firehouse. I bought the firehouse. I turned that motherfucker into a comedy and music club. We be rocking in there. Clips been there. We all be out there rocking. Every famous person I've ever met, I asked him to play that club. I seen Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones at a party. I asked him, I said, yo, Mick, you gotta come to Ohio and play my club. And he was into it. I love playing clubs. Tell me about the time. Look, he said, are there girls there? Right in his face, I was like, no. Come on, Dave, like the kind of girls that I like. I said, Mick, I don't like bitches with dirty feet. I said, Mick, you are going to love this place. Mick, these bitches will put a ring around a public pool. Pretty hippie pussy, that's what I'm dealing with. I'm not a drug guy at all, right? But I am in business, you know what I mean? So I've been every kind of party. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I smoke weed, but I don't consider weed a drug. But how show business is. I've been to cocaine parties, I've been to weed parties, I've been to all the parties, and I'm just telling you the truth, what I've seen. Dope bitches are way prettier than weed bitches are. I be looking at weed bitches like, damn, bitch, you sleep in those clothes? What the fuck is going on with you? No energy in their face. They don't wear their bra all the time, so the titties be sagging. Get your dick out of my face, man. That's how weed girls sound. You're not gonna suck your cock, man. Mouth is dry as a bone. You ever get some weed hit? It's gross, doesn't it? Feels like a cat sucking your dick. How do you not have any moisture in your mouth? Bitch, go wet your whistle and try again, would you? Drink some water. Yuck. Recently in the news, I've been getting a lot of grief, again, because I did a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia. And you hear those cheers? That's America's whites. They're furious. Boy, I gotta tell you something. I've never not felt guilty about something like I've never felt. I don't feel guilty at all. And Bill Maher, the famous comedian, I've known Bill since I was like 18, 19 years old, and I've never said this publicly, but fuck that guy. So fucking tired of this little smug, cracker-ass commentary. These motherfuckers act like, because I did a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia, I betrayed my principles. Well, no, I know I didn't. No, let me, come on, everybody, let me do this. And I'm sure, all right, everybody, calm down. I'm sure I'm right. First of all, what did they say? They said, Saudi Arabia killed a journalist, and rest in peace, Jamal Khashoggi. I'm sorry that he got murdered in such a heinous fashion. But, and that was period. And also, look, bro, Israel's killed 240 journalists in the last 3 months. So I didn't know y'all would still count. These niggas clown me because I was on stage in Saudi Arabia. I didn't tell them to put this in the paper. I just said it on stage. I said, it's easier to talk in Saudi Arabia for me than it is in America. And niggas felt some kind of way. I stand 10 toes on that. Don't forget what I just went through. 2 years ago, I almost got canceled right here in the United States for transgender jokes. I gotta tell you something. Transgender jokes went over very well in Saudi Arabia. After that shit, I was in the pocket, nigga. I was like, where have you been? Every article said that comedians hoard themselves out to a dictator. But all the articles have my picture on it. And you know what? I can't even get mad. Because to be fair, I did more money than all of those comedians. I don't even work at Netflix no more, nigga. You know what my new job is? I sit by the phone and wait for them Arabs to come. Can I help you guys? What do you need? In the Middle East. That's my second show I did over there. I did a show 3 months before that. I was in Abu Dhabi. Them niggas had a comedy festival. And let me tell you something. Y'all never been in the Middle East. Here's some wild shit about them you might not know. You know how everybody got like a dog around here? Out there, they don't fuck with dogs. You know what they do? They got birds. These niggas have, as pets, they have falcons. Couldn't believe it. I went to the mall. I saw these niggas with falcons, and that shit is dope. Here in D.C., we might see like a pimp here or there. But I've never seen a nigga pimp a bird. That nigga just had the bird like, give me a rabbit, and the motherfucking bird just bring this nigga a rabbit. And he just give the bird a piece and eat the rest himself. So I saw a guy at the mall with one of these falcons. We were just talking about bullshit. And I don't know why I even thought to do this. Son just came over me. I said, nigga, let me borrow that falcon. He did it. He gave me the mitten and he gave me the falcon. Now, I've done a lot of fly shit in my life, but the most rock star shit I've ever done, you never know what this feels like. I walked into an arena this size, 20,000 people screaming. I had a live falcon on my arm. Niggas went crazy. I was going nuts. This is the national bird. I don't know shit about the bird. Turns out, this species of falcon that was on my arm is the single fastest creature on Earth. I didn't know that. When it hunts, it flies straight up And then it dives down at 240 miles an hour, they've clocked it at. It strikes its prey dead, and then flies and comes back and gets whatever it killed. I didn't know that. And when I was walking through the arena, the crowd was screaming, but the falcon didn't panic because it had some kind of mask. And then it was just looking like it. But it didn't trip. I didn't know that this mask is part of the falcon's training. If you take the mask off the falcon, it will think that it's time to hunt. Boy, told me that. I was on stage killing it, and the falcon was just looking all stupid like this. And I'm like, oh man, this nigga can't even see the show. So I took the mask off. Man, this falcon lost his goddamn mind. Mayhem in suit. That motherfucker fluttered like this and flew off my arm. And at first everybody was clapping, yeah. And that nigga dove down 240 miles an hour. Killed a bitch in the third row. And it was a transgender bitch when her dick popped out. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Next thing I know, the Arab police came, and these niggas just ushered me on stage. I didn't realize that I was under arrest. I said, what's the meaning of this? Clearly, these guys know it was an accident. Next thing I know, they charged me with murder. And I said, murder? This was an accident. And then they had me in the court, and these niggas started reading transcripts of all my transgender jokes, trying to act like I killed this bitch on purpose. I said, I didn't even know this bitch was trans till her dick popped out. This is the goddamn outrage. I'm an American. I still didn't think I was going to get in trouble. In the case, this is the only word in the whole trial I understood. It said, guilty. So, what? And my whole life flashed before my eyes. I said, I wish I never came out here. You're probably wondering how I'm here tonight. Well, I didn't know this at the time, but I found out, lucky for me, killing a transgender in the Middle East is misdemeanor. Yeah, it's way easier to talk. Jimmy Kimmel got canceled. Let me tell you something, too. Not only did they cancel Jimmy Kimmel, this guy Carr that runs the FCC had the nerve to say that Kimmel, if he wanted to get back on television, I don't know if Carr said this or somebody said this. They said this nigga has to pay Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA Foundation money to get back on. Now, think about that. No, think about it. Elon Musk bought the election for Trump because the Supreme Court said that money was free speech. So you can spend your money however you want to speak. But if they make this nigga pay some money for some shit he doesn't believe in, well, then they're compelling him to say something he does not mean. And 6 million, oh, excuse me. Listen, I made a lot of money. Take money from Saudi Arabia any day, just so I can say no over here. It feels good to be free. People in Saudi Arabia can't say all the things that I was allowed to say. A deal's a deal, and the king said that I could say these things. So I looked at it like I was on a diplomatic mission. Gotta bring pussy jokes to the Middle East, because they got all that pussy over there, and they can't even talk about it. I said, I'll do it. Shit ain't what it used to be, is it? This nigga Puff got 50 months. I'm talking about this, but I'm gonna do it. Here's my thing about Puffy, and I gotta state my bias. Years ago, I got attacked on stage in California at the Hollywood Bowl. Now, this was a long time ago. At this time, Charlie Kirk was alive and well. This is another reason it's hard to talk in America, because, you know, if you talk for a living and see Charlie Kirk get murdered that way, I'm gonna be honest, nigga, I was shook. I mean, Charlie Kirk is the wholesome white guy, and they killed this motherfucker. I said, these whites, seen them like this, they're playing for keeps. And then remember the next day in the news, when all the information was still shoddy, they came out, they were like, apparently there were transgender messages inscribed on the bullets. At home like, oh no, dead as fried chicken. Then weeks later they said what was written on the bullets. One of the bullets had Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella, Bella, Bella Chow written on it. Another bullet had written on it, if you're reading this, you're gay. Nigga, I'm gonna need to see these bullets. Fuck, is this nigga writing whole paragraphs on bullets? How big are these bullets? What is this nigga, a watchmaker, inscribe all this shit on a bullet? I'm not making light of Charlie Kirk dying, but I'm not sure what it means. And I'm not sure I believe what they say it means. I'll tell you what I don't believe. And the whites were quick to say this. He said, Charlie Kirk is this generation's Martin Luther King. Yeah, that's a reach. You know, they both got murdered in a terrible, they both got shot in the neck, but that's about where those similarities end. Charlie Kirk is a motherfucking internet personality. No, by design. Fundamentally, he can't function like Dr. King. Internet niggas are negative because they have to be. Because nobody will engage them unless they say shit that makes them upset. That's Charlie Kirk. Could you imagine? Follow me for more content like this. I believe all black people should be free. Change my mind. The Congress took a vote that October 14th will be Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day, and everybody voted for it. No, I'm not gonna boo it. You can remember that nigga if you want to, and remember him however you want to. But I do know that most of those congresspeople voted for that because they're afraid of political violence. I'm telling you, it's easier to talk to Saudi Arabia. Stage not long ago in the States, and niggas got mad because I said, well, you know, maybe Puff will get off. And I said, I hope so. And the crowd was like, boo. Okay, it's not that I think Puff is right, but when I got attacked in L.A. at the Hollywood Bowl, people forget Puff was the guy that tackled my attacker. He saved my life. It's a hard nigga to be mad at after that. He had security that night, but you know what I mean? Them niggas wasn't ready. Them niggas had some slippery shoes on, but something they ran out. All them niggas slipped and fell, and Puffy got my attacker and tackled him. And then years later, when I heard about that baby oil, I was like, what did those niggas slip on? Remember, he wasn't on trial for having 1,000 bottles of baby oil, because it's not a crime to have 1,000 bottles of baby oil. It's gross. It's not illegal. And I'm gonna tell you something else I haven't said, but this is true. In L.A. one night, I fucking been to Puffy's house. No, I didn't see none of the stuff they said in that trial. I walked to that nigga's living room. House was clean, traction on the floor, nothing slippery. Walk right there. Perfectly normal evening. Only thing in hindsight, but at the time it didn't mean nothing to me. I didn't think about it until after I found all that stuff out, but in hindsight it was fucked up. But we was on this back patio. We was drinking and laughing, talking, and then Nick Puff started swirling his drink like this. And he goes, so Dave, what are you into? You know me, I was like, I don't know, nigga, books, video games. I didn't know there was my big chance to fuck Cassie. God bless her. I'm not making light of her. What she went through was terrible. Remember, because they kept showing this video of him beating her up in a hotel hallway, which was a terrible video. But he wasn't on trial for that. If you remember, he paid her for that before the federal charges ever came up. He paid her $35 million, is what I heard, which doesn't make it right. But, I mean, come on, nigga. I do know niggas that have fought Floyd Mayweather for less money than that. And them niggas had to fight for 36 minutes. But Cassie is a gangster. She did something that I wish on my worst enemy. She had to testify about her sex life. Boy, that's tough. God save us all from that. Anything you say about sex publicly is going to sound bad. Even if you're talking about fucking your wife face to face. The judge like, tell me about when you fuck your wife face to face? Yes, Your Honor, I did. But what could you describe the? Well, yes, I looked at her in her cold, bored eyes, and then I pulled those big panties aside, and it's like a bush that just screams, I don't give a fuck, and I just, you know what I mean, just powered through it. You know what I mean? Cassie had to do way harder than that. Them questions, they was asking her all kinds of. Did Sean Combs pee mouth? I was like, oh my God, she didn't hesitate. Yes, Your Honor. Tonight I had done something, I'd prepared something that I wanted to try. It's hard though, but I really wanted. It's the longest closer in the history of my career. I'm gonna do it, but boy, this is gonna take a lot of focus. So please don't yell out and distract me. Just enjoy it. No, it's hard. Look, man, closing the show is everything. And closing the show in DC is very important. So tonight I'm gonna do 2 different closes. I'll do my closer for DC, and then after that, bitch scream like a car alarm. Did you hear that? Did everybody else hear that? Jesus Christ. All right, and then after that, if I can get to it, I'll do my closer from Saudi Arabia. This is the tough one. Hey, do me a favor, production. Sex it up. Give me like comedy club lights. Love you too. Right, let me concentrate. When you see it, you'll understand this is hard. It's harder to do this than you think. Hold on. Go ahead, keep screaming. Give me a drink. I love you too, homie. I just hoping that this brings somebody in this audience peace. I really do mean what I'm about to say. I know how it is right now. I understand how a lot of people feel. Turn your walkie down. I know how a lot of you guys are feeling right now. You can't hear me? You hear me? It's not going to give me much time. I know how people are feeling right now, and I hope that this brings you peace. I feel that way too. Without question, 1,000% without question, all of us, individually and collectively, are living through some sort of a conspiracy. Sure. That feeling you have, something is wrong, or you might feel like, hey, am I right about this? Am I crazy? No, nigga. No, you're not crazy. This thing you're feeling, I'm telling you, I feel it too. But here's what I suggest. If you don't know what the conspiracy is, then just say that. I don't know is an acceptable answer. In fact, if you don't know, it is the best answer. But all fucking guessing out loud about what conspiracy is, I'm begging you, please, shut the fuck up. Be sick that way. You can say I feel, you can say I think or I suspect, or it looks to me like, but please stop saying you know. Because in times like this, the last person I trust is a nigga that's sure. This is madness. But here's what I think. Somehow this country went wrong. In 1910, I've narrowed it down to a specific dude. It has something to do, and think about what I say later, not now. It has something to do with Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And the heavyweight championship, to this day, is the most prestigious title in sports. But in 1908, only white fighters had that distinction. Not because black fighters weren't good enough, but because no white fighter would give any black person the opportunity to lay their hands on them. And a guy named Tommy Burns became weight champion. Tommy Burns was an anomaly. He was Canadian. And he said, I am the heavyweight champion of the world. He's Canadian. Now, faggot they are. He said, I am not the champion of Canada. I am not the champion of white men. I am the heavyweight champion of the world. And I will defend my championship against all comers. And boy, Jack Johnson got the opportunity to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world, not from an American like he was, but from a Canadian. You think that Americans would root for Jack Johnson because he was an American? No, this nigga was blacker than Wesley Snipes. Tommy Burns was at that time the shortest person to ever be heavyweight champion of the world. And Jack Johnson stepped in the ring and towered above him. And he beat the fuck out of Tommy Burns in Sydney, Australia. And all the white fighters from America were like, you see what we mean? Those goddamn dirty fighting monkeys. Before Tommy Burns, the heavyweight champion, had retired, there was a man named Jim Jeffries. And everyone said Jack Johnson's not the real champion. They said Jim Jeffries is a real champion. And he's not fighting him. He'll beat your black ass, Jack Johnson. So Jack Johnson called out Jim Jeffries. It happened first in London. Jim Jeffries was in a parade in London, and Jack Johnson's black ass stepped out of the crowd. This nigga was dressed to the nines. He was very articulate. He said, I say, old boy, I sure would like to give you a wallop. And Jeffries was just looking at him like, the fuck? And then Jim Jeffries was in a parade in Sydney, Australia, and Jack Johnson stepped out of the crowd again. I say, old boy, I sure do want to give you the old one, too. Jim Jeffries was looking like, how does this nigga have a passport? Again, this was 1910. The hallmark of Jack Johnson's character was audacity. There's a story about him that's a legend that says that one night he was caught speeding down a country road south of the Mason-Dixon line. And the police pulled Jack Johnson's black ass over. This is 1910. He must have been flying 13, 14 miles an hour. He was down here. After months of persistence, Jim Jeffries relented. Jack Johnson defended his title against Jim Jeffries on the 4th of July. This is where the phrase Great White Hope came from. They were dying to find any white man that could put this nigga in his place. Tell you what, on the 4th of July, Jim Jeffries was not the guy. Jack Johnson fucked his ass up. And Jack Johnson did what they call in boxing, carried the fight, which means he could have knocked him out in the early rounds, but he didn't want to dive. He wanted to make it look good. But when he got sick of it, because back then it wasn't no 15-round fights, niggas just fought until they couldn't fight anymore. When Jack Johnson got bored, vicious right hook, and you see Jim Jeffries and the footage start to fall, but then the film cuts off because they didn't want any imagery of this nigga knocking out. And on July 5th, all over the United States, there were riots, white riots, where they killed many black people to make sure that the rest of these niggas knew their place. Because Jack Johnson was the first black person to physically confront the color line and win. And here's the punchline. He didn't just leave the arena with his life. Jack Johnson had a very particular proclivity. He left the arena with his life and a white bitch. Let's talk. Johnson loved fucking white women. Almost exclusively, he would fuck white women. And man, the audacity of this nigga beating white men up and fucking their bitches. The world was elated. And every black fighter celebrated Jack Johnson. And they came to Jack Johnson, they said, Jack, congratulations. Can I get a title fight? And Jack Johnson, just like his white predecessors said, well, I don't fight black fighters. I'm in the business of beating up white guys and fucking their bitches. One after another, they lined up the great white hopes, and Jack Johnson would vanquish them all. In fact, it took an act of Congress to stop him. Congressman named Mann from Illinois came up with an act called the Mann Act. The Mann Act is the law that says illegal to take a woman across state lines for the purposes of debauchery. And my line of work, gotta know shit like that. Jack Johnson got tried, convicted of the Mann Act, fled the country, was on the run for years, and it ruined his life. And then finally, in 1946, he died in the United States in a car crash. Before he died, this is one of my favorite quotes that any American ever said. He said, I risked everything for my pleasure. You know, freedom is one thing. Not having freedom is another thing. But using freedom that you don't have takes an enormous amount of courage, no matter how selfish you are with it. Jack Johnson is an American riddle that we've got to solve. Not too long ago, but some years ago, I was here in Washington. I was at MGM at the National Harbor, and I wasn't performing. I was at a Stevie Wonder show, and Stevie Wonder didn't know I was there. I was on the side stage. I got there late. He was already doing a show, and this was a very special night. It was the night before Aretha Franklin's funeral. And Aretha Franklin was a very special person. The first time I ever played Radio City, she gave me a job as her opening act. Mean boss, but great artist. And Steve was on stage killing it. And then in the middle of his set, he started to sing a medley of all the songs that he had ever written for Aretha Franklin. I gotta tell you, it was a lot. Huge hits that I didn't even know he wrote. And the crowd was grooving and celebrating her life. And just suddenly, in the middle of it, Stevie broke down crying, put his head down on the piano, and I could hear him sob. And I was drunk, and it hurts a man to hear another man cry. And I didn't even think about it. I said, I must go to him. And I just walked down on stage, and you know, it was home. Like, when the crowd saw me, they started cheering. But Stevie didn't know it was me. That nigga was looking like that falcon. And I sat down next to him at the piano, and I go, Steve, it's me. And then he smiled real big, and we started cracking jokes and singing songs. And then after the show, we were backstage. He asked me, he said, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I'm going to fly to Detroit to pay my respects to Miss Franklin. And he said, no. At that time, the senator had just passed away. The late, great John McCain had passed away. And Stevie said, I need you to do me a favor. John McCain is laying in state at the Capitol. He said, I want you to go pay our respects. And I said, nigga, I would much rather go to Detroit with you. He didn't even know I was all the way over here. The next day I went to the Capitol. I don't do this for anyone but Stevie Wonder. He can tell me to do anything within reason. The thing he's told me to do that I won't do is stop smoking. That I won't do yet. But I did it. And then I got all the way up to Senator McCain's casket, and I was just, Stevie Wonder sent me. And I just walked. But that's what he wanted us. I did it. A lot of people don't know this, but people from Washington know this, who are my age. A lot of people don't know that Martin Luther King, unlike Charlie Kirk, had a harder time being remembered. The only reason that Martin Luther King's birthday is a holiday is because the King family and Stevie Wonder lobbied very hard and very long for that holiday. People forget that what they call Black Happy Birthday, the Stevie Wonder Happy Birthday, was a protest song about making the King holiday a reality. Happy birthday to you. And it was so effective. Finally, the Senate voted on it. 99 out of 100 senators agreed to make that birthday a holiday. Except for one, John McCain, the guy that Stevie sent me to say goodbye to. Great man Stevie Wonder is. How much this country could learn from a man like that. John McCain, God bless him, he got in a pickle for that vote, but it came back to get his ass years later. Years later, he was running for president and had to run against the first nigga to ever get a party nomination. Barack Obama got that nomination on the anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. All the votes in McCain's long career as a senator vote against that King holiday had never haunted him like it did at that time. So how did he counter that? I'll tell you what he did if you remember. John McCain sponsored a bill to pardon Jack Johnson posthumously of the Mann Act. Yes, he did sponsor that bill to pardon Jack Johnson of the Mann Act. The Mann Act, precisely the law that Sean Puffy Combs was convicted of just recently. America's unstoppable nigger. Yeah, something else is going on. Oh, are you guys bored? Okay. I'm gonna keep going, there's more. I hate conspiracy theories, but I'll tell you one about, well, and this is not even a theory part, I know. It's a fact. Did you know when I left D.C. and moved to New York in the 90s, the New York City Police Department had a hip-hop police task force? Did you know that? And this task force would follow anybody that was involved in hip-hop culture around. Not just rappers, drug dealers, because they thought that it was connected somehow. Even young comedians, like anybody that was just on that scene, they knew who everybody was and what everybody was doing. Back in those days, I used to go to nightclubs, but sometimes I go to a club and the lights would be a little bit different. I didn't notice, but the OGs would pull me aside and be like, careful in the club, nigga. Which meant that the lighting was strange because the party was under surveillance. And they were just telling me to watch my back. You know, I wasn't doing anything wrong anyway, nigga, just having a good time. Now, did you know that that task force was invented originally to follow just two people around? Those people was a guy named Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. the Notorious B.I., and Sean P. Diddy Combs. Now, why is that this nigga has been under surveillance for at least 30 years, but just now they noticed that he racketeers and beats up bitches. I bet you, if he was doing all that, I bet you they seen him doing it for a long time. But why now? It was strange in this case. Nobody called the police, except for Kid Cudi. Everybody called Kid Cudi a snitch, but he wasn't a snitch. A snitch is when two niggas do crime together, and one of them gets caught and tells on the other one to get himself out of the trouble. Kid Cudi was violated by Puff. He alleged that Puff blew up his motherfucking Porsche with a Molotov cocktail and didn't stop there. He said he then alleged that Puff broke into his house and opened this nigga's Christmas gifts. Oh, nigga, I'd have been furious. Kid Cudi said, I can't prove that he opened the gifts or nothing, but I came in the house and he was in there and the gifts was open and that nigga was just like, Merry Christmas, Playboy. So what was Kid Cudi supposed to do? He only got two choices. Either A, you're going to have to do some gangster shit to this nigga that he's going to have a hard time proving. Or if you're not doing that, and I do not believe that Kid Cudi is built like that. Your last option is B. You got to call the police. Good for Kid Cudi. He did the right thing. I, on the other hand, I'm built like that. If this nigga fucked my family's Christmas up, you better believe I'm gonna make him suffer for that shit. And niggas are gonna come up to me and tell me all about it and not even know I did it. Oh my God, Dave. Did you hear what happened to Puffy? Oh my God, no. What happened? He was jogging by himself in Topanga Canyon. A falcon came out of nowhere and killed this nigga. I love hip-hop music. I love many of the people that make good music. They taught me things and showed me things that I'd never seen for myself. Good things. For example, I was in Atlanta once. I'm almost done. Hang in there, champ. I was in Atlanta. Called me up. Now, at this time, I didn't know him well. I know him better now. But I knew him well enough that he'd have my phone number. And then they called me up. He was like, Dave, I heard you was in my city. He said, I want to show you the real Atlanta. I said, fuck yeah, nigga, let's go. He said, meet me downstairs in your hotel valet. So I went downstairs. I thought he was fucking around. When I went down there, he was outside in the valet, sitting in a purple famous car. Must have been $1.5 million. Beautiful purple color with ivory white seats. It's the kind of car that you gotta have a chauffeur to drive, but for some reason, this nigga was driving it himself. And I didn't ask no questions. I just jumped in the car, and man, he showed me Atlanta. Everything. Outkast and them started rapping over there. Future used to play in the playground over here. And then he sold the car up and he pointed to a house and he goes, and Martin Luther King grew up in that house right there. and he raised his children over here. And that's the church preached in over there. And then stopped at a red light, and these little black kids rushed the car from either side of the intersection with water bottles. These kids in Atlanta, if you know, they're called the water boys. Their whole hustle is they sell water to people who are stuck in that hot Atlanta traffic. I didn't know that. I just saw these young niggas running up on the car, so I locked the door. But T.I. rolled his window down, started giving the kids orders. Slow down, don't just run up on somebody's car. You don't know what they got in there. Smile so you look less threatening. Remember your manners. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Please. Thank you. That'll keep you alive. And keep that on so it looks refreshing and delicious. And then that kid realized that he was talking to a legend. He said, oh, my God. Man, thanks, T.I. And held his hand out for some money. And that nigga T.I. looked at him and said, I done gave you the game. And rolled up the window and drove away. That night, I did my show, and when I got off stage, T.I. was backstage with a friend of his that I didn't know. I just knew his somebody because everyone was acting all excited that he was back there. So I asked him, I go, yo, Tip, who's your man? And he's like, oh, that right there? He goes, that's the future of hip-hop. I was like, just calm. I said, yo, my man, what's your name? And the dude looked over here. He said, I'm Nipsey. And this was Nipsey Hussle. I'm not going to go all into it, but I got to tell you, that night, me and T.I. and Nipsey went out. We had a fuck blast. Good time, not a freak-off fun, but fun. So much so that when I got home from the road, my wife always asked me, she goes, Dave, how was your trip? Normally I'm just like, it was good. But this time I was like, babe, I met the coolest nigga. I said, this nigga's younger than me, but it's like he's older than me. And she's like, what? She goes, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know, bitch. She's like, it's like hanging out watching Cookie. This nigga just had an answer for everything. I told her all about Nipsey. And what was funny about it is years later, I saw Nipsey's widow, and she pulled me aside. I'd never met her. And she said, I want to tell you that my husband loved you. He said he met you in Atlanta, and you had a wonderful time. I said, boy, that's fucking crazy. We sure did. Not long after I met Nipsey, I was in L.A. doing a show. And then after the show, I got a text from a guy that says, I'm at a party you need to be at. And I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. And he's like, no, nigga, you have to come to this party. So I'm thinking this must be the freak off, finally. And the party was at a place that I'd been to a million times, so I wasn't excited about being in that place. But when I walked in, it just was different. It was popping. And it turns out that the party was for Nipsey. Nipsey had been nominated for Rap Album of the Year, and everyone that he would have ever respected was at the party. T.I. was there, Snoop was there, Jay-Z was there, Puffy, before we knew he did all that stuff, was there. I was there, on and on and on. And as good as the party was, when I was partying, I was having fun, but I had a pit in my stomach because it reminded me of the 90s. And you can believe me, or you cannot believe me. I'm just telling you how I saw and how I felt. They had the FBI lights up. I just felt like, man, this party's under surveillance, but I didn't think too much of it. And then I went back home to Ohio, and I was taking a nap, and my wife shook me awake, and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, David, what's going on with you? She said, your friend is dead. And I'm old now, so I'm like, bitch, you don't have to be more specific than that. I know niggas with gout, but it was Nipsey. And that's why I feel for Charlie Kirk's fans, because I know what it's like to see someone you look up to and admire gunned down by a fucking nobody. It's so hard to accept that. And if you looked on the internet and saw terrible videos, because there was a very gory video of Nipsey's murder too. And I looked in the comment section, and the internet was doing what it does. And everyone was coming up with one conspiracy theory after another. But the one that I kept seeing the most involved a holistic doctor in New York City. Have you heard it? It's a doctor named Dr. Sebi. In the mid-90s, during the height of the AIDS epidemic, a black holistic doctor in New York named Dr. Sebi claimed that he cured 2 people of AIDS and HIV holistic. And at that time, that was an illegal claim to make in the United States with the FDA. So the federal government took Dr. Sebi to court, and New York State took Dr. Sebi to court. And Dr. Sebi beat both cases. And Nipsey Hussle, unbeknownst to many, was making a documentary. He was producing it about Dr. Sebi's work and his life. And people on the internet believe that larger powers killed Nipsey Hussle. That information from you and I honestly don't know. But I'll tell you something that I do know. The greatest comedian I've ever seen with my own eyes is Charlie Barnett. Charlie Barnett, a New York street comedy legend. He only did comedy on the streets, and I was lucky enough to meet him. He was a mentor of mine. Charlie Barnett was so good at performing on the streets that from the streets, he booked himself a job on Saturday Night Live. Yeah, but the week of rehearsals, they found out that he couldn't read, so they fired him. Replaced him with Eddie Murphy. Oh, it could have been beautiful. You gotta be able to read to do Saturday Night Live. I know y'all saw Bad Bunny last week. I'm not knocking him, and that nigga's reading, you know what I mean? Charlie Barnett wasn't deterred. He kept pushing. And he went on to do movies like DC Cab, which is where I first saw him. He used to be on Miami Vice. This motherfucker became a star in his own right. But the thing that kept derailing him is that Charlie was a terrible drug addict. This nigga started doing crack, quit heroin. He was doomed. He learned how to do street comedy from a guy named Swami X, and Swami X didn't just teach him how to do comedy, he taught him how to get high, and Charlie never could shake it. And when Charlie mentored me, even though he was a terrible drug addict, I never saw him high. He never wanted to do to me what he did to him. He made sure I understood that cocaine is just not for you. Even though those bitches are prettier than them ugly weed bitches you got. One night, I saw Charlie at a comedy club, and he looked, and this guy would avoid me if he was getting high. I never seen him look this bad. So I said to him, I said, Charlie, you good? And he didn't say anything. And I said, are you? And he laughed. He said, no, nigga, I'm not high. He said, I'm dying. I said, what? And he said, I'm dying. I have AIDS, and I'm dying. Now, I must have been 18 or 19. I never met nobody that I loved that had AIDS. I tell you that shit had me shook. And then I started thinking of all his hopes. And he was hinting at it for years. The nigga used to have a joke where he said, I took an AIDS test yesterday. I got a 65. Another time he was on stage at the Apollo, and he told the crowd, there's good and bad and everything. And the crowd was like, yeah. He said, so what's good about crack? And, everybody in Harlem was like, no. He said, shit. Crack brought the price of pussy down to $5. But when he said AIDS, I was so shocked that I looked at him to see if he was joking, and I knew. I said, he's serious. And I said, fuck. He said, what you mean? I said, you're not gonna die around me, nigga. That's not your destiny. He said, what are you talking about? And I took Charlie Barnett to Dr. Sabi. This is a fact. And Dr. Sabi treated Charlie Barnett for 3 months. This is a crazy story. Make a whole movie about it. It's a long story, so I'll spare you. But the point of the story is, Charlie died of AIDS. DC, no matter how much this government, anyone else puts pressure on you, keep your wits about you. I'm here just to remind you that we are a community and we will stay sane together. We'll take care of each other and we will wait this orange nigga out. The fear that I have for myself, that I need you to protect me from, is co-option. My voice has become more powerful than I intended it to be. And I cannot let these niggas do me like Charlie Kirk, or even worse than that. What if these niggas trip me up somehow and then make me say the things that they want me to say? We can't have that. So, just in case, we need a code. It's gotta be something that I can say so that if I say it, you know that these niggas got me. And don't listen to nothing that I say after I say those words. But don't tell anybody what it is, but it's gotta be something that, you know what I mean, that I would never say. I know what the code is. The code word is, I stand with Israel. Thank you very much, and good night. Rich bitch!